Good evening to all. I'm Giovanni Scicchitano, Associate Professor at the Department of Earth and Geoenvironmental Science of the University of Bari. Today I will show you a case study on how we use plastic and microplastic for obtaining high-resolution chronologies for recent coastal deposits related to extreme marine events. In the last 10 years, several studies tried to provide chronological constraints from the analysis of microplastic of terrestrial and marine deposits generated from the beginning of last century. Martini et al. 2022 had a systematic review of the main papers in this argument and conclude that microplastic appear to be accumulating over time in sediment globally. However, increased methodological rigor and further investigation are required before historical microplastic inventory can be established with confidence. Additionally, the diversity of microplastics, their sources, and modes of transport may make them a less than robust chronostratigraphic marker as compared to radionuclide option for modern sediment dating. Sicily is located in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. The southeastern sector of the island has been interested in the last millennia by the occurrence of marine extreme events such as tsunami, tropical-like cyclone, and Mediterranean hurricanes, known as Medicane. Here we report the list of tsunami events occurred in southeastern Sicily, starting from the first one reported in 148. Here we report the list of Medicanes that impacted the coast of southeastern Sicily, starting from the events occurred in 2005 called Zio. But which are the sources of the tsunami in this area? Southeastern Sicily is one of the most seismically active areas of the central Mediterranean. This area, mostly constituted by the Iberian Plateau, represents the emerged foreland of the Siculo-Maghrebian Trust Belt. The Ionian sector of the Iberian Plateau is located on the footwall of a large normal fault system, which since the Middle Pleistocene has reactivated the Malte Escarpment, a Mesozoic boundary separating the continental domain from the oceanic crust of the Ionian Basin. In this area, the faults run mainly offshore, and they cut the seabed and are, for this reason, able to generate tsunami along the coast of southeastern Sicily. In addition, along the Malte Escarpment in the last 10 years have been detected through the use of geophysical survey several landslides that are perfectly able to generate tsunami as well as the normal fault. So these are the two main sources of tsunami, of local tsunami along the coast of southeastern Sicily. Medicanes are natural phenomena that periodically occur in Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean cyclones are typically induced by southward deviation of the polar jet that lead to barometric instability. Polar jet can isolate a drop of cold water over a very warm sea, and for this reason, through a process known as tropical transition, is it possible to transform an extratropical cold core vortex into a tropical cyclone. Several Medicanes and tropical-like cyclones interested the Sicily during the last 5 years. As we can see from the WebGIS we developed for the analysis of Medicane in this last year, to the address archimedemedicane.com, at least 5 events of Medicanes passed through Sicily in the last 5 years. These events produced damages much more intense than those produced by normal seasonal storm. As we can see in this image, in a coastal area located southern of Syracuse, the town of Syracuse, the flooding produced by the two main medicines occurred in southeastern Sicily, the Tarp-Candresa in 2014 and Zorbas in 2018, had a very higher flooding respect to the seasonal storm occurred since 2009. Is about 100% higher the value of flooding of these two medicines. And these are pictures representing the effects, the damages produced by the medicines Candresa and Zorbas along the coast of southeastern Sicily. The principal marker to study marine extreme events are, of course, the coastal boulder for the rocky coast and the core cached inside the coastal lagoon, where it's possible to find marine layer within the normal sedimentation-related coastal lagoon. In southeastern Sicily, we have several markers, both from rocky coastal area and from coastal lagoon, and they are developed from the town of Catania in the north to the area of Syracuse in the south. For our study, we select a place located about 30 kilometers southern than the town of Syracuse, in an area called Arenella. In this area is located a small lake isolated by the sea. This lake is reported also in ancient map like this one proposed by Camilliani in 1584. Inside the coastal lake, we selected an isolated part where we performed 3 manual core reaching the depth of about 2 meters. We performed several analyses on the 3 cores we catched inside the lake. Basically, we had sedimentological analysis, magnetic susceptibility, paleontological, radiocarbon age determination, and microplastic analysis. This led us to distinguish 11 stratal units. Radiocarbon age determination provided us some information about the age, and basically we know that the system developed since the beginning of 4th century, continuously up to present day. At the base of the cores, we have the unit 1, composed by medium coarse sand with a macrofaunal content rich in cherastoderma, and the presence also of vegetal remains and seeds. For this reason, we interpreted this level as an environment of euryhaline and eurytherm lagoon open to the sea. Above this layer, here we have the cherastoderma, the picture of cherastoderma. Above this layer, we have unit 2 that has been interpreted as passage toward a freshwater environment, so a time when the system was closing to the sea. And the other unit above the previous one is the unit 3 that is mainly constituted by sand with a macrofaunal content poor, but with a macrofaunal content abundant and represented by the ostracos and foraminifera, among which benthic prevail on planthic. And for this reason, we interpreted this layer like marine extreme events that interrupted the continental deposition with this marine level. And the other units, main units located above the units 2 are the 5, that is represent time when the system was totally isolated by the sea, and so we have the prevalence of fresh water, macrofaunal and microfaunal. And the other interesting unit are the 7 and the 9 that are probably related to the other important marine extreme events. And the upper part of the course, where we have another time of isolation of the system by the sea. Radiocarbon age determination led us to reconstruct 3 marine extreme events inside the course of Ranella Lake. At the base, we reconstructed the event of 1169. On the middle, we found evidence of the events of 1693, and at the top, the final one, is the layer related to the events, to the tsunami events of 1908 of Messina. But we had no idea, no results about what we have above the event in 1908. And this because we cannot use radiocarbonate determination for this time range. And for this reason, we conduct an analysis of plastic and microplastic content inside the upper part of the course. First of all, we have to say that below the level of 1908 tsunami, we didn't find plastic or microplastic, and we start to find them from about 1 meter below the field level, and just above, I mean, from the 1908 tsunami. And we found several pieces of plastic, different type kind, and we conduct on this piece of plastic Raman analysis that led us to reconstruct that at the base we found bakelite, and in the middle we found polyethylene and polystyrene in the upper part of the core. Just above the layer connected to the event of 1908, we found a piece of bakelite that was basically the first plastic made from synthetic component, and was developed from the beginning of the last century, from the 1909, and used until the middle of the last century. And in the middle, between 50 centimeter, we found polyethylene, and it's just a pellet of polyethylene, and the one used from industrial plants to produce plastic. And this kind of polymer was firstly synthesized in 1933. And in any case, we know that in our area, I mean in southeast Sicily, there is a very important industrial plants, one of the biggest known in Europe, and this is where we have the coastal lake, and these are the plants, the industrial plants in the north of southeastern Sicily, about 30 kilometers, where we have a production of polyethylene, and that use this kind of pellet since the 1976. So from 1976, we know that in southeastern Sicily, some industrial plants use this kind of pellets of polyethylene, and this represents for us an important limit to consider in the passage between the bakelite and the polyethylene. And in the upper part, what we can consider as soil, we found a piece of polystyrene, and we have to consider this polymer was manufacturing for the first time in 1931, but we found a color, an additive to the polystyrene that was used for the first time as colorant in 1990 or from the 1990 to the beginning of 2000. And for this reason, we reconstruct a period when was developed bakelite between 90 and 1950, and then the upper limits of polyethylene starting from 1976 and arrived up to the presence of polystyrene with a colorant, and that could be related to a period between the 1990 and the starting of 2000. And that means that we expect to find the flooding of the two Medicanes that reached this coastal lake in the last years in the portion in the area between the polyethylene and the polystyrene, because we know, or probably also the polystyrene, and in any case it cannot be say between bakelite and polyethylene. So what we prevent to do is to realize other three core in the area that we know that has been flooding by the Medicanes, and we hope to find evidence of the two events and to relate to the result we have with the microplastic. Thanks a lot for your attention. Here you can find my contact and link to our WebGIS about Medicane.